Hey everybody, welcome to another ATDev Podcast. We're joined today by Todd Roberts and Daniel Adler, the CEO and co-founder of BioT. Thanks for being here today, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, wonderful to be back, Owen.
Yeah. For those who don't know, BioT is a cloud provider for medical devices. And yeah, Daniel, maybe you could give a little intro on yourself and your background.
Yeah, sure. As you mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of BioT. In the last 5 years, I'm basically in this business trying to help MedTech companies in their journey towards connected cloud solutions. Before that, so I'm on my background, I'm an engineer, a computer engineer, but most of my career was customer driven, focused, customer centric, starting from product management, pre-sale, in different high-tech companies, both startups and established ones, mainly around communications all the time. So software, hardware, always around communications. And that's the first company I'm actually involved in, which is totally devoted and dedicated to the health tech and med tech space. So that's a bit about myself. And about BioT, basically, as you mentioned, we like to position ourselves as the cloud infrastructure for medical devices or the infrastructure for medical device clouds. Basically, what it means is that we are providing all the cloud functionality that the medical device companies require when going to the cloud, starting from the connectivity, which is the basic stuff, moving towards security, and then delivering the features and services, including remote patient monitoring and engagement, and many others that we can discuss also later on. And the idea behind BioT is that instead of medical device companies having to spend money and time in building it on their own or through software design houses, basically we are providing an out-of-the-box, no-code, low-code solution that enables them to be quicker to market, adjust quicker to new requirements in a secure and open manner, and also meaning that you can integrate and interact directly with third-party systems like HRs and so on, relatively easy. So that's basically what we do, and that's it.
Just a couple things, just one or two incredibly important things for launching some new assistive technology in 2025. That's awesome. I think, here, maybe I'll just quickly disclose that ATDev has been a very happy BioT customer for a couple of years now. So, very excited to have you on the podcast with us today, Daniel, and talk a little bit more about your background. And I honestly would just love to know from your perspective where we sit in May of 2025. What do you see are some of the trends in the cloud connected medical device space? What are some of the areas that BioT is excited about? Let's start with the positive side. I'm sure there's some headwinds too, but what do you think of some of the positive sides?
The positive sides, you mean?
Yeah, some of the
Yeah.
exciting things
So
coming in cloud and medtech. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that there are several things that are now driving the cloud itself we are talking about MedTech. One is, of course, everybody's talking about it, and I'll start with it, but I'm not sure it's the most important thing, is the issues of or the discussions and opportunities around AI, how you can actually embed artificial
Mhm.
intelligence into medical devices. And the cloud is a huge enabler for that because with the cloud, you can run algorithms quicker and faster and train them better on the cloud. You have basically unlimited resources for that. And also the fact that you can do it centralized, then you can collect mass amounts of data from many different devices. And that definitely drives new opportunities. But I think that the most interesting ones are mainly around remote patient monitoring and patient engagement. Although there are things that we are talking about already for 5, 6, or even more years, definitely since COVID started, they become more and more relevant today as you see how it really improves patient outcomes and patient care. So I think that's the big change in the way that patients are treated. And from the medtech company perspective, I think it also provides them an opportunity, and we can discuss it also in more details later, to change their business model. So we see the trend of moving from selling capital equipment to selling services. And I know that you do it as well. You're not selling just the device, you're selling a service that continues to monitor the patient as he's being treated at home. And that's basically moving the medtech companies higher in the value chain and enabling them not only to generate more revenues, but also be more flexible with their business models and
Yep.
adjust it better to the different use cases.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree that I think AI, it has been the buzzword for 2 to 3 years. It's incredibly exciting. There's huge advancements, but there's also incredible things that can be done with very simple deterministic models just because we have access to so much more data through a device that goes home with the patient. And from a regulatory perspective, the FDA is much happier to see a simple deterministic model applied to a lot of data than they are to a potentially hallucinating AI model. Not that's they're coming and they are starting to move there, but I completely agree. I think that's an interesting nuance and a little bit more practical one.
Yeah, and that's true. And we also identified that quite early. And that's why we also introduced, and you're also using it, the analytical database, which enables you to generate instantly and easily insights from the mass amounts of data that you are collecting, regardless whether you are applying real AI and ML algorithms to the platform or not.
Yep. Yep. Nice. So I think another thing that I really like about BioT and your background is you're an international company, right? And so you see lots of different regulatory markets. And again, today's landscape, how do you think about building a company across a global company that has to touch so many different regulatory players, right? US, Europe, et cetera. How do you build a strategy in that space?
So that's definitely one of the key challenges that we are facing, and that's also I know that that's also something that many medical device companies are facing. And basically, the way that we are treating it in a practical and pragmatic manner, we positioned ourselves, first of all, as a player where the most significant market for us is the US market. So, first of all, let's comply with the
Yeah.
requirements and regulations relevant for the US market around HIPAA compliant when it comes to privacy, around FDA, of course, when it comes to cybersecurity and safety. And that's where we started and how we built all of our capabilities when it comes to complying with different standards. So we started with SOC 2 as a security standard to comply with. Now we're doing high trust. So these are all market focused, US market focused. Having said that, the US is only 40% of the market today in the MedTech space, and the second biggest market is Europe. So we are also not neglecting this market. And over there, we made sure as a second tack, and we're already there, to comply with the relevant standards in Europe, which are mainly around the MDR and GDPR when it comes to privacy. And there are some international standards like ISO 13485 and 27001 and 7799 that are critical for those domains. So we made sure to comply with them as well. So doing it in tact first and then making sure that we are covering 80% of the market. And
Yeah.
then later on, supporting other sub-regions or markets like China and Japan, which are
Yeah.
in many cases are subsets either of the FDA or of the NDR requirements.
Yeah, it seems if you can conquer those two, you can translate pretty well to the rest. That's a very general, high level statement. I won't claim
But it's
that's a
true, yeah.
comprehensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Even now, I'm not sure if you noticed, Switzerland just announced that they are going to accept any medical device that is FDA approved also in Switzerland. So you don't need to do any kind of local standards that as you did before, but it's already approved also there for use. So that's a great change. I'm not sure that entire Europe will go after that, but they're talking about it also in the UK, which is not exactly EU. And let's see later what will happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it makes a lot of sense to share the values and the learnings that one regulatory body has. Even when we were building our product, there are some pretty nuanced differences between MDR and FDA. But holistically, you're trying to build a safe and efficacious device for the patient population you're addressing, be that on American soil, European soil, or Asian soil, wherever it is, right? So lots of things that can translate for sure. Zooming back out a little bit, Daniel, I would love to learn. Owen and I have gone through our own founding journey with ATDev. What was the sort of aha moment for you with BioT that really said, you know what, I want to start this business. I want to take on this really hard journey of founding a company. What initially got you excited about the space?
I must give the credit to my other two co-founders, Boaz and Guy, who came with the idea basically, because what they did before, they had their own company, software design house, that focused on cloud and IoT in general. And then somewhere in 2015 started to get requirements from medical device companies to build their cloud. And what they have learned for each project that they did, tons of heavy lifting of building a one-off solution, and then it's even more complicated to maintain it. So Guy came with the idea, based on other platforms that exist in other domains, we can definitely build here a platform which is generic enough and based on tools like no code and low code that can be used for the entire medtech space with focus on cybersecurity and privacy that will be easy to replicate and deploy. That got me really excited. Again, it was the mid of or the beginning of COVID period. I
Yeah.
understood the potential. I understood. Actually, I had a very good friend and also a family member that got sick, not in COVID, but other diseases during the COVID period, and were afraid to go to get treatments in hospital. And due to that, unfortunately, one of them died from cancer. Actually, not from COVID, but because of the fear going to the hospital. So that
Yeah.
really shook me and said, okay, we need to change the way that you are basically providing care, and definitely the cloud is an amazing enabler to do that. So that's what basically drove me to this domain.
Wow. Yeah, that's a sorry for your loss, but the impetus for building something incredible here now that you guys have, so it's been about a 5 year journey now then
It
into
is, yeah, from
yeah.
October 2020 when we did our first seed round till this
Yep.
point, yeah, almost 5 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. They say startup days are long and years are fast. The time just
So
starts to fly.
true, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, and I want to loop you in here. I've been running.
Yeah, yeah, I would love, Daniel, just hearing your founding story. I think it really resonates with definitely us and other MedTech co-founders. Do you have any advice for people that are entrepreneurs or engineers that are inspired by problems that they see in the healthcare space and want to take on starting their own company? What advice do you have for the next generation?
So one thing I've learned throughout this journey, especially in the tech space, is that seeing so many meta companies is that many meta companies are focused on the technological problem and on the clinical problem, and losing sight of the patient at the end of the day and seeing if he's going to use this device in the right way, if it's efficient enough, simple enough, easy enough to use. And that's where they are failing at the end. They are not building the device to be properly used by the patient, meaning not putting him in the center. And that should be your thought from day one. And even with you guys, I remember when we started, and things that you do are you don't know everything from day one and you learn as you evolve. So if you remember, you started with a mobile app, right? And you've learned that it's not very easy and intuitive for people to use both the mobile app and also do the training with the device. And you decided to embed the touch display into the device with the connectivity to be part of it, and that solves ton of problem of usability. And you had
Yep.
other issues as well, wait and so that was the right thing to do, to start from day one to think about how to look on the experience of the user in order to make this product successful. And many miss that. Many think about the best algorithm that they can build or the best sensor rather than looking on what's actually going to be used by the patient.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And as you said, you and BioT went on that journey with us. When we first started working together, we only started the business very shortly after you did, if not basically the same time in 2020. And when our first meeting, I think I was sitting in my garage showing a mock up of an app to your group and
I
what we
remember.
wanted to do. Yep. And we tried the app for a while and then we had users test it, got feedback around confusion and pivoted. And to some of your early comments about the way you built BioT to really be a partner and to offload some of that heavy lifting on the dev side so you can really focus on what you're delivering to the patient, that's really critical. And I think that's great advice. Being People talk about the healthcare system as the patient isn't your customer, right? Because ultimately insurance pays or the doctor
Right.
pays or decides to use it. And the patient ultimately is being told what to do. And in a lot of cases, they're being told at least once by the doctor. But then to your point, you only really make an impact and collect a bunch of data and train these great models if they keep using it. So even if it gets delivered to the patient, the ultimate real success story is built if the patient starts using it a ton. And so focusing on that on the dev cycle, I completely agree, is very important to success. Yeah.
Wonderful. thank you so much, Daniel. It's really been a pleasure to speak with you, and thank you again for all the work that you do and continue to do in our space.
Sure. Thanks again for having me. It was great talking to you guys, and good luck to all of us.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
right.
Great to see you, Daniel.
Likewise.
All right. Until
Bye
next
all.
time.
Bye, Todd. Bye bye.